Okay guys, welcome to today's video where we're finally going to do the giveaway of the Metcal soldering station. So yeah, I've been kind of delaying this video. First was because it took me forever to get a hand piece for it. And then second, I wanted to work it into another video, basically kind of do a giveaway at the end of the video. But I just really haven't made much content lately. Had a couple of videos I started and never finished. It just turned out to not be interesting, but whatever. It's besides the point. Let's get into the actual giveaway here. It's going to be the same as all the other giveaways that I do on the channel, where all you have to do is pay shipping and you get it, and not charging anything more than what it is. I'm just going to use one of those medium flat rate U.S. Postal Service boxes, so anywhere in the United States. Obviously, if you are local and do a local pickup, you don't have to pay shipping, but it doesn't affect me either way, so that's not going to change how I decide. If it's I'm not just going to automatically pick somebody that's local for the giveaway. But yeah, let's actually take a look at the soldering station and look at it, and then we'll get into this giveaway. So before we really get into looking at the station and seeing it in operation, let's just look and see what you're actually getting here, kind of give you an idea of the value of it. They go from anywhere between like $212 to $300 on eBay. This one's a little beat up, so I'd put it at the lower end of the spectrum there on price, but it is just a Metcal STSS-002 coming with the handpiece and the base. The handpiece is actually off of an MX500, but they work together. So the handpiece is a little more expensive of a handpiece than the ones that come off of off of these same ones. But yeah, it's just what I had, so it's what we're putting in the package here. Everything works and it's tested, and we'll actually take it for a little run here. Okay, so this is everything that's actually going to be included in the lot. So you're going to get some solder that's date coded 1999, some cheap unknown Chinese flux, and then 3 tips. You got 3 different tips here, all of them working. A very clapped out stand, and a used handpiece, and a used soldering station. So, oh wow, it looks like you're just giving out your trash. Well, actually that is kind of what this is. So I just needed to get rid of these 2, but I want to make sure that anybody that didn't have flux and solder that's getting this, you're gonna have something to get started with. I do suggest at least tossing this as soon as possible and replacing it with some useful flux. This solder will work perfectly fine, except for you're gonna have to add flux, because really what goes bad in these rolls of solder is the flux inside there. It does still flow, it does still work. I did test it. But yeah, it is an older roll, so you will want to replace it also. It's a 6337 blend, so I do like the 6337 a little bit better. It's got better properties in my opinion. But not everybody likes it as much. And then for your tips, you're going to get the 117 and the 136, and I believe this is another 136. No, this is a 137. So you're going to get these 3 tips. The Metcal stations are a little bit different than your Hackos or your JBC. The temperature is actually set by the tip that you put in there, not by controlling like a knob or a button. So the power supply is kind of a constant frequency it runs at, and it is like RF that's going through there. And then you just put the different tips in there. One of the kind of strange things about them is, so I turned it on without tip in there. We go into an error state. If I put one in, it doesn't come out of the error state. You do have to turn it off and back on. That's just how they work, though. That's by design. So yeah, once they trip the error, it latches into an error state and does not try to reset. So that is something to be aware of if you have like a bad tip or a bad pin and you start tripping yellow, and it doesn't come out of it, it's not a fault to the unit. That's just how they work. So yeah, those are kind of the 2 quirks about them that people that are new to a Metcal station may not be used to. Is when it trips a fault, it stays in fault. You have to turn it off and back on. The Hacko, it'll come out of a fault state. The JBC also will come out of a fault state without power cycling, but the Metcals, you do have to power cycle them. So just turn them off when you switch out your tip, turn them back on. And yeah, these things are it's all kind of old and clapped out looking, but it works perfectly good. And yeah, this isn't a showpiece here. This isn't, you know, a floor model. This is a used station that came out of a production environment. They were throwing it out, so I figured, hey, I'm sure there's somebody on YouTube that could use this. I did sell a couple of these stations like this too, but I wanted to give at least one away to somebody that needs it, somebody that, you know, maybe still using a Weller, or someone that just doesn't have a soldering iron. So let's go ahead and actually see this thing in action. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start with something that a viewer of the channel may be working on, which would be a GM instrument cluster, pretty common one for the guys that watch this channel. So we can see that the station does work. It will reflow these just fine. Really need to add some flux in there. Although this cluster's already been reworked at some point in time. Let's go ahead and get in there. And see, it functions just fine for that. And then we will use a hand desoldering pump because this thing doesn't have a desoldering gun to come with it. So why would I show using a desoldering gun? So, yep, functions just fine for any of your daily use kind of tasks that you would do with an instrument cluster. So we can desolder our stepper motors just fine. We can reflow the chips, and I mean, what else is there really to see? We can put the big guy on there and show how much thermal capacity these things have. I mean, this thing really could take that guy off pretty easily. But yeah, I'm not going to bore you guys to death all day with this thing. These are very capable soldering stations. They're really meant to be like on all day long. It's definitely a production style soldering station, so it'll be a huge upgrade to anybody that's using like a regular Weller or something like that. The cartridges are not terribly expensive. You will end up needing to get a couple of different ones if you really get into the workspace on this, but for general hobby use, these are really all of the tips you would need. But you definitely, they make tips that are meant specifically for taking these chips off for Metcals and all of that. I mean, they really have probably one of the best lineups of tips, and then for different temperatures too. Any of the tips that are coming with it will work great with leaded solder. You may struggle with lead-free solder because of the temperature setting on the tip. But you just have to look up these tips to see what the temperature is on them. But yeah, I mean, that's really it for showing it in operation. It operates, it turns on. They don't go to sleep when you put them in the stand. It just, you know, it's on when you have the power switch on. But these tips are really durable too. You can really leave them on for a long period of time before you start ruining them. The oxidation takes a long time to build up, especially if you're not using like crappy solder paste or flux. So definitely I would get rid of the flux and replace it with something better. So yeah, I mean, you're going to get that and you're going to get that, just so that way you have something to get started with. For the missing sponge, just use a cut a kitchen sponge to fit in there. It'll work just fine. No need to spend a bunch of money on the Metcal sponges. You may want to replace the stand. It does have the white death. The aluminum is starting to turn to powder, but you know, hey, it's free. You just got to pay shipping. So, all right, well, I hope this giveaway doesn't come away as like half-hearted, since it's such a tired and clapped out looking station. But really, these things are really great stations, and I think it'll really help somebody out there. I know it's way easier to get excited about some like brand new soldering station that's being given away by some Chinese company that costs, you know, a quarter of the amount of one of those, or actually probably like a tenth of the amount of one of those guys. It's way easier to make an exciting video for something that's brand new than, you know, an old station like this. But this really is, it's a high quality workhorse that's gonna last somebody the lifetime of their hobby. So, you know, sure, it's tired, it's beat up, but you know, hey, I want it to go to a house that'll enjoy it and learn and use from it. And so that's going to get into how to do the giveaway here. So right down below, just click in the description. There's going to be a Google form in there. All you got to do is, answer that you want it, and if you agree to shipping, and then fill out like why you want it, this little short paragraph. That's how I decide who wins these things. If you've ever noticed in my giveaways, there's a little like paragraph thing in there. That's really how I pick. It's not random. I don't just pick a random number and do it. I just read to see, who actually seems like they genuinely want it. So yeah, just write down there and let me know why you want this, and I'll decide sometime early next year. So, sometime next week, I'll announce a winner, and then you will be the owner of your very own Metcal soldering station. Like, yeah, it's not exciting. It is a workhorse. This is like getting excited for that beat up dump truck that your grandpa's going to give you. But, oh well, it works. It'll get the job done. It'll really help somebody's business out that's just getting started, or just help somebody in the hobby space. So definitely let me know why you want it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.